Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Juice with JJ. This is where I keep you informed about scams, financial controversies, and money shenanigans so you can keep your cash flow out of their pockets and funding your dreams. Hey everybody, we got a special treat for you today. If you have ever felt like a lack of clarity, confidence, or consistency is holding you back from your next big win, or if you've been feeling like your career, personal wellness, or relationships are stuck in a place of good intentions but slow progress, I want you to listen up. We are going to launch a new book study in March about the book called Zoned In, the mental toughness required for a world-class you. And today we have a special interview with author Sheryl Kline, who's going to teach us a little bit about this book and why it's so important for us to move forward in our life. If you want to take your life to the next level, grab your copy of the book on Amazon or drop into our show notes for our specialized link. Let's get into it.
The first reason that I really wanted to focus on your book today is because when you first gave me this book, we met a year ago at the Women in Cloud in Seattle, and when you gave me the book, you gave me a request. You said, hey, I'm looking to coach people. If you've got 3 or 4 women at the top of their game that need to, do better, let them, send them to me. And I thought, well, that's a really nice way of, in the back of my mind, I thought, this is a really nice way of asking for coaching referrals, trying to get the kind of client you want, high-performing women who are at the top of their game, right? But when I started evaluating my friendships and my inner circle, I realized at that point that none of us were really operating at the top of our game. We were tired, worn out, pulled in a million different directions, justifying it by saying we were trying to give our children lives we didn't have, or giving our dream the attention it needed as an entrepreneur, and giving our all in our day jobs, which most of us were military at that time. Most of us are retired now from the military, but most of us were military at that time. And I realized something's got to change. And it actually, I'm sure you were just doing what you do every conference you go to, but for me, that request actually changed how I thought about my life. Because I was like, the next time somebody asks me, do I know some women who are at the top of their game, I'm going to be able to say, yes, I'm at the top of my game. And I know I've got way room to improve, but I really do feel that right at this moment, I'm about to speak on the stage with Les Brown tomorrow, I feel like I'm at the top of my game. So first of all, I want to start off thanking you for even being that influence in my life that you didn't even realize.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that is amazing. I feel like we were both blessed that event happened in January, and it was a real honor. I mean, I was moderating your panel, so I did my homework on you and everybody else on that stage, and I really want to honor some of the things that you've done, and it was a pleasure to be a speaker with you and to introduce you and moderate that conversation, no less on the main stage at Microsoft's Women in Cloud. So thank you. It's been a pleasure knowing you.
Yes, mutual pleasure. Now, when I think about your book, one of the chapters that really stood out to me, and I think this is because I'm such a direct person, was chapter 2 that talked about 0 excuses. And so I definitely, I'm telling you that now because I'm hoping we'll have time to talk about 0 excuses and setting ourselves up for success, right? But first, I would like if you could give our listeners today a little insight as to how this book came into being.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So I'm going to wind back the clock a little. People probably can't see me, so they don't know how old I am. But when I was about 10 years old, it was a millennium ago. But anyways, I got called in the principal's office of a private school that I was at. And she essentially, when I came in, her name was Mrs. Harris, but no hard feelings. But anyway, she pulled me in there, and my parents were there, and she said, Sheryl, you're not a good enough student to be in this school. And I looked at my parents. They didn't really stick up for me, which I was surprised.
Oh.
And we took those words as truth. But she didn't know what was going on in my house, that my mother had severe bipolar disorder, that my brother, despite being an upper middle class family behind a white picket fence, so to speak, he was a drug addict. He was 10 years older than me and really had a problem with substance abuse. And so I was getting B's, maybe a C here and there, and also some A's. And so my parents didn't speak up and say, she is good enough. She's working hard. You understand, like, what's going on. And so anyways, my dad did kneel down on the way out of that meeting, and he said, Sheryl, you can put your mind to anything, and it's October. You have till the end of the school year. And so I thought that was great news. Long story short, I went home. I worked harder. I gave up all my after-school sports. I actually studied under my desk at home because there's a lot of yelling at home, because my brother, since he had an addiction, he wanted money, and I created a little cave for myself so I could concentrate. And so at the end of June, my dad called me into the kitchen, and he said, Sheryl, you won't be going back to that school in the fall. And that's after I had given up everything fun. I had worked longer and harder. And a lot of times, speaking to your point, that's what we think that we need to do. We need to work longer and harder. And I just learned that working longer and harder didn't really work out for me. And I used to always think that my story was about my dad, but it was really about my mom, who did not have a voice. She didn't speak up for me in the principal's room, the principal's office. She didn't speak up for me at all at home. She didn't have a voice because she wasn't allowed to speak during the news. I don't know if that's a 70s thing. And and also she had a passion for endangered owls. And I'll tell you what that has to do with myself or with you or with your audience, that she was always kind of beat down and said, you didn't finish college. Who are you to save a species of anything? And when she died at a very young age at 69, about 3 months later, those 3 species of owls went extinct.
Oh, my.
And so what I really believe is that we all have something very special placed within us. And with you, it's finance because of the experience that you had. With me, it's really unlocking the potential of female leaders, emerging leaders, especially those who are further marginalized within our gender. And because it's, the way that the world's going, there's no more time for fear or doubt. So that was really a long-winded answer of saying I created this book zoned in the mental toughness required for world-class you is because I really feel that women need a few extra set of tools to go up against either culturally or how they were brought up, or to really have a voice and speak up, and what I call hone it and own it, because it's not that women are better than men. We just have a different conscious capitalism. We have a different level of intuitiveness and compassion and that type of thing. And what male allies are realizing is that it's to the benefit of everybody. So that's a very long-winded answer why I wanted to write this book. So, and it's not just for women. It's for female leaders, emerging leaders, male allies. It's simple enough, actually, for younger people, to understand as well. Because I really think collectively that women are going to help course correct the world, especially women who are further marginalized within our gender, because I think they have so much power that I think it needs to be seen now more than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I like that you said is about using these concepts, because it is it's so well written that I can get through it, right? And so I think about how as a writer myself who's published a couple books, one of the things I've learned is it's very, very easy to write things that nobody understands. It's difficult, and it takes work and effort and intentionality to write something that's easy to understand, that hits you right in the emotions and in the intellect, and helps motivate you to change. And so when you talked about using with young people, I was actually thinking how nice it would have been if I'd had somebody in my life who understood these lessons and could have poured them into me when I was a young adult or even as a teenager. And it's okay. Where we're at is where we're at. We start from where we're at and we move forward, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason why I wrote it. I mean, I don't know if you knew, but before I started specializing in mental toughness for women in the workplace, I spent close to 25 years working with teenagers and young adults who are world-class athletes, and some of them on their way to be in the Olympics, and helping them to get better quicker and how to perform under pressure. And so I thought, though, that there'd be more impact if I could empower female leaders, because a lot of them are mothers or are aunties or what have you. And so the ripple down effect was going to be really huge. But gosh, what a blessing it is to have some of these women really exemplifying and showing how to, what we call, own their shift, and to really be examples of how to do it in a confident and authentic way.
Now, I know you've got to get going, but I'd love if you can talk about owning our shift. And by that, I'm sure you're talking about the mindset shift, right? I'm saying right, but I'm revealing that I haven't dug into the book yet because we're going to cover it over the next 2 months.
Yeah, so owning your shift, it's two things. It's really owning what your belief in yourself. And so it's not just owning where you want to go, but owning your identity. So a lot of people might think, so for people that you're working with, for example, they might think, oh my gosh, I'm really in debt. I want to not just be out of debt, but I want to have a 6-month nest egg. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. But it's so far for me to get from here to there. World-class performers think with the end in mind. And so they have to own their shift. In other words, own their identity. So their identity now is someone who is financially successful. Their spending is responsible. They take vacations. They take care of their family. They are at ease when it comes to thinking about their finances, because the reason why identity needs to shift before any goals or anything are put in place is because we must have a high level of self-efficacy. Because if we identify now as the person we want to become, then we're more likely to have habits of those of the people we want to evolve to, rather than habits of the people of the person that we currently are. So a person who is financially successful and has good financial habits, if I identify as someone like that before, maybe while I'm still in a massive amount of debt, but that person will make their dinner instead of go out to dinner. That person will make good choices. But if they think, I'm buried in debt, I want to get over to this other side over there, then they identify as a person who struggles financially, and they make choices and have habits of a person who struggles financially. So when I say own your shift, it means own the identity you want to shift to in the future, so you can start acting like that person today and creating the habits and the consistent progress that it will require to get to where you want to go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, this book is going to help a lot of people get where they want to go. And so for those of you who are listening and you're wondering when we're going to kick off, we are going to kick off with Zoned In for our Mindset Monday starting on the 1st of March. Make sure you are there with bells on. Y'all drop the link in the podcast as well as in the Building Wealth Together platform so that you can go on to Amazon and get your book. You guys, this thing is going to be fantastic. Everything that I've looked in here, I think when I look through, and I've highlighted some things that I'm going to share with you. But when I look at how she talks about finding that support system and making sure you have the expert mentor and coach, I think about how many years I resisted doing that because I didn't want to spend the money and I didn't want somebody scamming me, and it was all out of fear, y'all. Or even as you expand that support system into having your peers hold you accountable and things like that. Again, fear. I was not trying to have anybody get into my business and tell me where I needed to grow because I just didn't want to tarnish my reputation. But the reality is our results speak for themselves. And so this book is going to help a lot of us take our lives to that next level. And Sheryl, thank you so much for being on the line with us today on our Building Wealth Together podcast. You are a jewel, and I look forward to continuing to share the stage with you.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. If anyone has any questions, they can just go to SherylKline.com And if you ever want me to pop into one of your sessions and explain anything, I'm glad to do that as well. You are a gift, too, because your services and your expertise and coaching are needed more now than ever. And I wanted to add that I look forward to learning from you. We're going to start meeting once a month, so I'm all in.
She's like, I'm not letting you go. Yes, y'all. I am so excited. This is one of those kinds of things. So for those of you who are new to my body of work, this is the kind of thing that I talk about. Let's all work together, build wealth together, grow together. And there's areas in my life, even just my misunderstandings of some of the terms that Sheryl wrote in her book, and that's why I asked for clarification. She's going to help me grow. I'm going to help her grow, and we are going to change the world for women in this. Oh, I was about to say universe, but I was just all excited. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining with us. Make sure you go download your book and be ready 1 March for the kickoff. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now, go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.